Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Women Unloaded on the Promethean Secular Frontier. I am so happy to be on here today with Cindy and Allison. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, Sunny. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You see the the thing over there,
Uh-huh.
uh, but yeah, it's I'm doing okay.
Well, good. And Allison, how are you doing?
I am doing quite well, thank you.
I love that little pooch that I see.
That's Miss Layla.
Hi, Miss Layla. Well, it's really good that you have Miss Layla because today we're talking about whether pets are beneficial, and so I would argue that they are very beneficial, and I bet that both of you would too. Am I right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so we can end the show now, right? We answered the
Absolutely.
question.
Show's over.
Yeah. No, actually, there's a lot of things. So I just want to tell you a few facts to get us kind of started. So 74% of pet owners say their mental health is improved because of their animals. That is a large amount of self-reported mental health improvement. So let's touch on that for just a second. Why do you guys think that is? Why do you think that our pets end up creating a situation where at least we feel like our mental health is improved?
Well, I think that the biggest one is that uh, mental health issues come very often with loneliness and having a presence, even if it's not a pet that's very empathetic, like dogs can be. uh, there's still a presence and interaction and this helps a lot when you feel lonely.
Absolutely, I would agree. What do you say, Allison?
Absolutely. I think what's especially dogs. I have cats too, but definitely with the dog. I mean, there's truly no judgment coming from this pup. She your dog's gonna love you no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that when they give you those big eyes and that slobbery kiss, you can't help but to smile, because they're just you walk in the door and they're going crazy and just like, oh my gosh, you're home, you're home. Wow, I never thought you'd do that.
It's
It
like
just
the Cat Stevens song. I love my dog. Like all they need is love. That's
Yep,
what they want from you.
And
absolutely.
food
So true.
and food.
Yeah, food, absolutely. It's funny because in on weekend mornings when we're not rushing and having to get to work, our big dog Jocko, he's a German Shepherd Labrador mix, and he sleeps with us in our bed. Huge dog, always at the foot of the bed. But when he starts realizing that we're waking up, he turns around and comes up and starts whining until we wake all the way up so that we can scratch him and love on him. And he makes these funny noises. And it just sets our day in such a great way. We look at each other and smile and laugh and try to make him make funny noises and stuff. There's nothing quite like that, I think. And we have a cat as well, but the cat tends to look at us like, why are you here? And, don't really care if he's not attacking us. So, there's that. So it also says the U.S. has over 500,000 service animals that help physical and mental ailments. So I want to talk about this a little bit because, as some of you may know, I work in a nonprofit, and we had a what's called a facility dog. We got it through Canine Companions International, and they're an accredited. Uh, uh, what do you call it? Accredited service dog.
Program. Hmm?
Yes. So they actually carefully choose breeds of dogs and that sort of thing, and then train them from the moment that they're born all the way up until they're placed with a handler. And you have to go for 2 weeks of like serious training. And then they have to be weighed like every 6 months. You have to do a certain feeding, you have to do certain grooming. You're not just given this dog. And you have to go through credentialing every so often as well. And then after 5 years of service, you can purchase the dog and it will be retired. Or you can, you can get another one if you want to. But there's a difference between an accredited service dog provider and like someone just having a care animal or whatever. Like you could have a chicken as your as your support animal versus an actual service animal. And so I just wanted to make that difference as we're talking about that. But what do you guys think about all of these service animals that are helping people who either have physical or mental ailments?
I have epilepsy, and I know epileptics who have seizure dogs that are supposed to be able to detect when they're going to have a seizure. Now, I've never had one. My dogs are they're not usually on the pay grade of they're more emotional support, but I can tell. I mean, I know people who have had great experiences with their dogs, and they do actually find it like the dog can tell when something's wrong. So,
Yep, absolutely. Cindy, have you ever had any experience with service animals?
No, but I think there should be a few of them in every single hospital in the world because they help recovery. They help because we know for a fact that physical recovery goes better if we are in a good state of mind. And so having animals like that would be tremendously helping, and it would, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure it's the case, but it would lower the bills for the hospitals and the patients. Because when you have a surgery, very often afterwards, in the first few days, you have physical training to make sure you recover your motion well. And I think that along with that, you should have pet, even if it's just 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I think it should be normal.
But you bring up a good point. As you were talking, and I was thinking about the hospitals. During COVID, when we were like in the big part of COVID, the main hit. There were many people who went into the hospital and never got to see their families again, and they were left to battle COVID alone. Wouldn't it have been awesome if they could have had service animals that could have come in, to at least give that comfort and to be with them so they didn't feel alone. I think you've really touched on something. And, I know not everybody is, and some people have major dog phobias. They may have been bitten when they were younger or something like that. And of course, we wouldn't push it on anyone that has that. But for the vast majority of people, I do believe it would benefit greatly. And I think we missed an opportunity there,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, and it's not just dogs. We could have cats. We could have birds, like someone put it in the chat. Ferrets. We could have. There are a lot of animals out there that are friendly to humans as soon as they're a little bit tamed. So I don't see why we couldn't do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone also talked about hospice in the chats. I know I used to work with adult daycare with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and so forth. And we had a lady who would bring her dog. It wasn't a service dog. She had a really nice, well-mannered dog, and she would bring her dog in for, I think she called it pet therapy. But it was amazing to see people who were completely withdrawn with a cognitive impairment. And as soon as that dog came up, they lit up, their face lit up. They would reach out to pet the animal, and so forth. I mean, what a great thing. What a great thing to do for that type of care. Someone had also mentioned in there that I think it said a small type of dog can smell cancer. I can't find it now. But I think there are several different animals that actually can detect that, can detect not just cancers, but other types of ailments. I think that would be something that would be an awesome tool to use in hospitals and so forth.
I
So,
seem to remember, but I'm not entirely sure, that there was, I think it was a dog also who could smell COVID. I'm not sure, but I seem to remember something like that.
well, that makes sense actually, because they've just done. I just saw a report that the FDA has now approved it's like a breathalyzer for COVID.
I saw that. Yeah, the COVID breathalyzer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's like no more nasal swabs, which are horrible, make you feel like you're about ready to dig your brain out of your nose. So
Yeah, those aren't fun.
no, but that would be interesting if you could have a dog that could do that. It would make sense anyway. So another thing is petting a pup can stabilize your blood pressure. Now that's pretty cool. You know, those physical ailments that we have. I mean, think about how much we could save on medical cost or, medications if we were able to do something like that. That's pretty cool. 20% of U.S. children need help with their mental health, and over 60% of U.S. colleges have a pet therapy program. I think that's pretty cool. 81.8% of children with ASD prefer to play with animals over toys, and 60% of U.S. hospice providers use complementary pet therapies. So we have some data that shows that we're not just talking about how they make us feel, that there's actual data that goes, behind all of this. So why don't we watch our first video on pet benefits?
Dogs can do amazing things. With our program, Warrior Canine Connection, we work with service members and veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. We have the patients who say, this dog is better than any drug I ever took. I didn't sleep for 5 years until this dog slept next to me.
What happens to your body when you're with your dog?
Your heart rate comes down, your blood pressure comes down, your heart rate variability, which is the ability of the heart to duck and dive and respond to stress, improves. You release oxytocin, the opioids, adrenaline, and serotonin. So all of these great reward chemicals and anti-stress chemicals can be released in both you and the pet.
What is oxytocin?
Oxytocin is a very ancient chemical. It's in all social mammals. There's variations on it that you find in birds and in turtles and in worms. And it most effectively is known for releasing breast milk and creating labor contractions. That's what it was first known for. So in a sense, it is the quintessential mammalian hormone, since live birth and production of breast milk identifies us as mammals and mammary glands, etc. About 25 years ago, they discovered that besides the oxytocin receptors and cells in the body that are producing oxytocin in the breast and the uterus, lo and behold, it's produced throughout the brain and in all the areas that control behavior and emotion. So what was it doing there? And what they discovered was that it was talking to other classic brain neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine and adrenaline and the opioid system. And it was setting up, by doing that, this perfect mental physiologic state of calm. It is the most powerful drive, and it creates the bond that lasts a lifetime. That's how strong it is.
Okay, that is, oh, sorry. I thought I removed it. Okay, there we go. I think that's really cool. So that's science behind why we end up feeling good when, we pet our animals or when our pets are around us. So what I'm curious about is, if we have all of these benefits with our pets, do our pets receive any benefits as well? I mean, are we just exploiting animals? Because I've heard that before. Someone had called into one show talking about pets or exploitation. What do you guys think about that? Are we simply using them for our own benefits? Are they getting any benefit from it as well? What do you think?
I think there's sufficient data to prove that the relationship is symbiotic. Goes both ways. Cats and dogs, especially because they're the most popular, they get benefits not only at the species level, like protection, like reproduction, like everything like that, but individually, when I look at how my cats behave, I have two, and they are extremely different in their behavior, but they regularly come to get some presents. One likes being pet a lot, the other one doesn't, but at least they come regularly, and they just want to be here. And I think all mammals are social species. So since we take those animals when they are young, they assign us as this big role in their social group.
Yep, absolutely. Allison, do you want to add?
I think there's a mutual benefit. I wouldn't say we're using the animals. I know my dog, before I got Layla, he just died. But every time I was pregnant, he was very, very clingy to me. It was like he knew something was different. He used to sleep with his paws up on my belly when I was pregnant. And he always treated our daughter Arabella very differently. Like with my stepsons who are older, he would roughhouse with them and jump and bark. But with Arabella, she could put a dress on him and he wouldn't even budge. Now this one, I do apologize, everyone. This one's being a little crazy because she's still a baby. But
I think it's adorable.
I think she's experiencing some love here too.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, because when I like I said, when I come home and my dog is going crazy and stuff, to me it seems obvious that he is happy. He's just happy to be in our family. So yeah, I agree. And you were going to say something, Cindy?
Yeah, I was just going to say the exact same thing you do when a dog sees you and comes to you and shakes his tail. It's obvious that he's happy to see you, and this idea that we're just exploiting them, to me, it's nonsense. It has nothing to back it up.
Right, absolutely. I agree. The noises are absolutely adorable. I love hearing them.
Bostons are known for their little snorts and huffs and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, and for zebra, yes, it is a Boston Terrier.
So we have a question from the audience, and so PSF is trying to get us to argue, and I would bet we're all on the same page on this. But are cats better or dogs? I don't know. I think they're. It depends on who you ask. I used to be more of a cat person when I was younger. I'm definitely a dog person now. I would say dogs, but I still love my cat. My cat just doesn't seem to love us. It just seems to just want to rule the house. This is his house, not our house. We just happen to live in his space. But yeah, I think dogs are they're just more interactive, I guess. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, they're definitely more interactive. However, the cat I have right now, we adopted her a couple months ago. Her name is Church, and I've never had a cat that loves me so much. I can hear her outside the door right now, wondering why she's not in here when Layla is. She sits right on the arm of my chair every day, and it's just, I don't think you can just generalize animals just like you shouldn't generalize people. You know, they have different charms. Dogs aren't for everyone. Cats aren't for everyone. But excuse me. Oh, sorry. Dogs are for everyone. Sorry, she didn't like that. But definitely, yeah, they're. I guess for a family setting, maybe the dog is better because they have so much more interaction with you, but I don't fault anyone for thinking their cat's the greatest.
All right, Cindy, what do you think?
I think that answering the question first needs to, you need to tell which criteria you use to say which one is better or not. And those criteria will differ from person to person. I love dogs. I would love to have one here. Fortunately, my apartment is too small, so I have 2 cats, which I love to death. So I'm totally unable to answer the question, to be honest. They provide you both with very, very different feelings and needs, and it's like I don't know, comparing 2 very different jobs. Which one you prefer? It's to me, we shouldn't even ask the question in the first place.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is very, very subjective. There are people who are allergic to cats, and so they would gravitate towards dogs more. But like I said before, there are people who have, a phobia with dogs. I'm sure that there's phobias of cats too, but we tend to hear more about the dogs because people there's been dog attacks and things like that. So that would be very subjective. All animals. I mean, I have a friend who absolutely loves her fish, and to me, I don't see how that's even in the same ballpark because it's like in a container. But she swears by their relationship. Like she can go up to the fish tank, and like they're interacting in some way or shape or form. But so to each their own. The biggest thing is that pets as a whole have a lot of benefits to us. They make us whatever makes us feel better, feel good about our mental health and our physical health. We talked about the therapy dogs or the service dogs before, and you had mentioned, Allison, that you have epilepsy and that there are dogs
Yes.
that can help with that. There are also dogs that are specially trained for PTSD. So if someone starts having higher anxiety, the dog is trained to detect that and can do things like lay themselves across the person, their lap, and to kind of pull down. So, like the weighted blanket helps with, it's kind of like that sort of thing, or just getting their attention so that whatever is causing them anxiety, it's like deflecting from things like that. So I think that's a pretty amazing thing that service animals can do. But I've also known people who say that petting their pet rabbit, can also lower their sense of anxiety, and that animal hasn't been specially trained to do those tasks. It's just the interaction with the animal themselves. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sonia. I just wanted to answer to someone in the chat at the very beginning. It's let me know. Trying to find the message. Was saying that linear. My parrot helped me out of my depression. Helped to have something that needed me, and that last part of the sentence, I think it's very, very important, because when some people are in a very, very deep depression and having dark thoughts and these kind of situations, having someone in here close to you that depends on you, that requires you to be alive, that helps a lot to push away a little bit those dark thoughts. And that's something I wanted to point out because it's quite important.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone just said that there are degrees, like there are indoor and outdoor cats. There's rural and urban pets. And that kind of made me think about people who are horse lovers and like to, go ride their horses and things like that. That's not something that someone in the middle of New York City can do. but they might, that. So there's different degrees and stuff. And if someone is able to, maybe they might live in the city but have a horse. Their horse is kept, somewhere where they can go and visit them sometimes. I think that was a good thing to comment on. There are degrees for what works for each, and people do have out. I know a lot of people have outdoor cats. I don't much like that. I mean, for me personally, because I feel like they're out there in the wild and can get hurt, and can get attacked by other animals. But but that sometimes that's just. I mean, they're still animals, so I guess that's how it is. But anyway,
it might be a little bit. I know some parents get mad. I know a lot of people who call their dogs or their cats or something their fur baby, and they don't like that because it's not a human child. However, I can tell you, as being part of some groups for parents who've lost a child, that sometimes filling that void with someone you can take, not someone, I mean, with a pet that you can take care of can make grief easier. We've all have, when you lose a child, it's really tough, or lose a baby, and having this little nugget here to love and care with you is really beneficial. I guess that would go along with the depression issue, but it doesn't replace it, but it eases the pain a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people who can't have kids, and they've, their pets become, like you said, their fur babies. I've even known people who go through custody battles whenever they divorce over their pets. So yeah, I think that we do take them on as part of our family, not just, as something that we're using. And I think that's a good counter argument to that. Are we exploiting pets? We actually take them on as part of our family.
Well, it's funny you would say that, because when I divorced my first husband, all I really wanted was our dog. I took Zdeno, my first Boston Terrier, and I let my ex-husband have the house. But I wanted the pup. He was coming with me.
Aw. Yeah, that's a very strong thing. Now, I will say, we talk about personal preference, and there's a discussion in the chat about like spiders, jumping spiders, even roaches. I have to say, I would not find that at all. My anxiety would be through the roof. But for some, I get it. For some people, that's what they want, and I don't disparage that. Just for me, I just knew I couldn't do it. I actually knew a guy who had a huge snake, one of those. I don't know if it was a boa constrictor, but it was, long. And he actually lived in an apartment complex and would keep it in his bathroom when he was gone during the day. And it wrapped around the faucet and turned the water on. And he lived on the second floor. And so,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, he got caught at that point. But yeah, so I mean, they come in every different, type, whatever people like. I just know what my boundaries are, and snakes, spiders, roaches, that kind of stuff. I just couldn't.
I I don't want to disrupt the show, but I would be very interested in having Brainbag join us and tell us what exchange does he have with the pets he keeps. I don't know. Brainbag, would you be interested in joining us?
I think that would be interesting. Brainbag just said, "What about chinchillas?" Yeah, you have some really great ones, Brainbag. Maybe you should come on and have a discussion. While Brainbag is deciding, what we can do is we can look at our next video, and maybe that'll give time for for that to happen. Hold on one second while I get it on.
First popularized around 1860, thanks to the famous nurse Florence Nightingale. She noticed that patients with chronic illness felt better when they had an animal partner by their side. Now, these programs can be found basically everywhere there are people. The technical term for this treatment is animal-assisted therapy, or AAT. There are all kinds of variations, but two are especially common. In one type of program, a handler will bring an animal to an outside location, like a college campus or nursing home, for people to interact with. The other kind is more structured and often involves a counselor or social worker. This type of therapy can include everything from playing with a dog to caring for a horse, and it's often combined with other forms of treatment depending on the patient. Regardless of the program, though, multiple studies have shown that AAT has a positive, measurable effect, both in those with and without clinical conditions. For example, several have shown that petting and playing with a dog can improve patients' moods by decreasing their distress and pain. Specifically, a visiting dog can boost your body's productions of endorphins, which ultimately trigger the release of chemicals that act like painkillers and produce euphoria. Dog visits have also been shown to decrease levels of cortisol, norepinephrine, and epinephrine in patients, which are all stress hormones. Like most things in science, there are some papers that haven't found such significant results. But for the most part, researchers are pretty confident that AAT works. It just might not be because of the reasons you'd think. For one, these effects don't just apply to animal lovers. They appear in people who feel neutral about animal companions too. And it's not just because the animals are super outgoing and always excited to see you either, like dogs typically are. Pretty much all animal companions do the trick for these kinds of therapies. Rabbits, horses, cats, you name it. Even animal farms full of goats and cows are helpful. The effects aren't even because these animals are soft or fluffy. Several studies have also shown that fish, bearded dragons, and crickets can help increase focus and positive emotions. Instead, the secret to AAT seems to be about the bond between humans and animals in general. After all, whether you're sick, stressed, or just trying to process life, animal companions won't judge you. But they will be there for you. Most studies have focused on AAT's effects and not the underlying mechanism, so it's hard to say for sure that this is the case. And it probably varies depending on the person and the animal too. But in general, an unconditional, non-judgmental relationship with animals could give patients a safe place to process emotions or try new tasks. One study also suggested they could be a helpful distraction from other problems or symptoms, or a place to practice social interactions. And there's some evidence for the importance of the human-animal relationship in studies that have been done so far. In a study published in the Journal of Anxiety, Stress, and Coping in 2003, 58 people without clinical diagnoses were presented with a stressful situation. They were told that they might be asked to hold a tarantula sitting elsewhere in the room. Those who considered this while petting an animal, whether it was a soft, fluffy rabbit or a hard-shelled turtle, experienced a reduction in stress and anxiety. But those who were petting a plush toy version of those animals didn't display the same effects, which makes sense if the relationship and interactions with the animal are key. On the flip,
I'm just going to pause it for just a second. Hold on a second here. Because there's so much there, and I didn't want to lose some of those things. With the work that I do with abused children, I mean, that was one reason we ended up with a facility dog, is because when a child would go in for a forensic interview and they're talking about one of the most triggering episodes of their life, you know, something that was just a horrible incident that happened to them, the dog being in there and them just sitting there and petting that dog made it easier for them to tell their story, you know, just by bringing down their anxiety level. And then in therapy, we actually had a contract for a while before the place shut down, but there was an equine therapy program close to us. They moved further up the mountain, so we're waiting to see if we can get another one around here. But a lot of the kids would go for equine therapy, and I mean, that included brushing the horses, riding the horses, sometimes just being around them and, like, you know, petting their faces and stuff. Those things, we saw a big difference in the kids who had that versus the kids who didn't have that. We don't have our facility dog anymore because the handler, the dog is attached to the handler and not the facility. And so when that person moved on, the dog went with them. And so one of these days I would love for us to get another one. But I just think it's important to note that. I mean, you know, like it's like the video is talking about, the, you know, those stress hormones have been shown through studies to be reduced. And, granted, not in every study, but in most studies, they found that. And we've seen it just by observing kids who have experienced abuse or maltreatment and having to, to come to a center to talk about that. Their levels went down, and not just their levels. When we are doing advocacy with their parents, and their parents are sitting in that room talking, if the dog was in there, they would end up petting the dog, and you could see visibly their anxiety levels go down. Did you guys want to add anything before we go back to the video?
No, it's just, we've seen some cases where autistic children, they only interact with a dog or a cat, and in my opinion, that shows something. It shows that we need those interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, my personal experience, definitely, even in some of my darkest hours, just sitting quietly with my dog, petting him, sleeping on my lap, licking my face. It just raises your spirits. It, like I said earlier, it's that unconditional, non-judgmental relationship.
And I wonder, the video is talking about, that you don't get that same reaction if you give them a plush toy, that mimics. And I wonder if it's, well, first of all, it's a living creature, it's something that's not a fake thing, a toy. It's an actual creature. But I also wonder if there's something in our DNA. We share DNA with every other living thing, even a little bit of DNA. So I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with it, if it's kind of if we are hardwired in a sense to have that type of a relationship with other animals. I think that'll be interesting to find out. All right, we will continue with the video.
Other studies with dementia patients have shown that robot dogs are effective at reducing stress and anxiety. These robots looked, sounded, and behaved a lot like the real thing, and the patients responded to them a lot like they did with real animals. So the benefits of the relationship were probably replicated, unlike with the plush toys in the other study. It would help to have some solid research to pin down this mechanism, but it seems like a promising one. Of course, there are other positive side effects of being around animals too, like playing with a dog or helping out at an animal farm will increase your amount of physical activity, and exercise is a well-known way to boost your endorphin levels. But at the end of the day, when it comes to animal-assisted therapy, it seems to be mostly about the bond. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow Psych.
Okay, so that's interesting. That kind of, the last thing that I said about it maybe being in our DNA, she ended up kind of refuting that a little bit. So that's interesting. It must, and when you have dementia, you don't often, your perceptions aren't always there. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder if they would have the same thing if they were doing that study with non-dementia patients, people who weren't experiencing dementia, if the robot would. I just wonder how that would do. I will say that I don't know about you guys, but when I've watched some of those robots, like the ones that they have, they were showing some that you could, like they would have something that would quote unquote hurt the robot, like make it fall over, and how it would recover, and it had a weird feeling. It kind of seemed like, I know it's a robot, but seeing this this animated robot fall down and then have to pick itself back up, I didn't like it. So it makes me wonder if maybe there is something to that it having motor skills maybe does something. I don't know. I find that interesting.
I think it was more the act that someone was hurting something on purpose that you didn't like.
It may be, even though it's, they would have to have.
Yeah, it wasn't alive, but still.
Yeah, even though you knew it wasn't a real dog, it still hurt you to see it get treated badly.
Right, because we associate, we have an association. So I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. Oh, we have Brain Bug. I'm going to bring Brain Bug in. Oops.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for
Hey.
joining us.
Hi.
So, you all, there's been a lot of dog and cat, and I have 2 dogs. We've had cats in the past. We don't have any cats right now. I am a big advocate for keeping your cats inside. Of course, that's one of my things that I get annoying about is keep telling people to keep their cats indoor because they're invasive and they're bad for the ecology around you. Just wanted to get that out there. Dogs can be too, but a lot of people don't just let their dogs run around the town. At least most people don't. But people tend to feel differently about cats for some reason. I don't know why. So I like to just lead into the pet conversation with that. I have had cats in the past. I have kept cats outside in the past. We live and learn and we grow as people as we learn about how we impact the world around us to better ourselves and better our actions. So don't feel bad about having done it. Just don't do it now that you know that it's bad. All right. Now that said, cats, dogs, there are some B tiers that I would just love to talk about when it comes to fur babies. But let me ask you all first, because I just popped in and just got here. Do any of you all have any other fur babies that aren't cats or dogs? No. Okay. All right. So these are some of our fur babies. Oh, hi guys. Come on out. I'll pull them up in just a second. Oh. Say hi.
Aw.
These are
Little
ferrets. Yeah.
Aw.
Big ferret and little ferret, but yeah, they're like Little Dipper and Big Dipper. Their names are Ness and Kilowa. These are my daughter's ferrets, and they are just adorable, and they are affectionate. Now, Ness kind of imprinted on her because it was a little baby, like a pup when she got him. So it imprinted on her as the mate and caretaker, and then she got this one when it was a little bit older than he was, but it imprinted on Ness. So it's like a chain of command in the bedroom where their cages, but they don't spend a lot of time in their cages. Most of the time they run free, and that's nice to be able to let them get some exercise. But yeah, they can go in like a cage. But yep, these are our other alternative B tier fur babies. Nice if you don't have a lot of space. Think about the same amount of space as a cat. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the B tier. I have 2 dogs too.
How long do ferrets normally live? What's their lifespan?
Ferrets generally live about the same lifespan as a dog.
Okay.
And the thing about ferrets that you got to keep in mind, but it's no different than having a cat with a cat box, is that they have a smell that you gotta tend to, and then they have that musky ferret smell that some people just don't tolerate. I think that's what keeps them in B tier, actually, is that they have that smell. Where you got cats and dogs up in the A tier, or I probably put dogs in S tier myself because I love dogs. Let me grab another little friend for you. I'll be right back.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if you were able to take any wild animal as a pet, which one would you take?
I think a sloth. They are so cute and they move so slow, and they just look like they're happy, and I would just love to have one of them just wrap their arms around my neck and just hang there for a while, and then they kind of lean back and turn their head. I think that would be so cool. What about you?
I love squirrels. I would love to have one inside the house.
A squirrel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cute. This is not a furry guy. This is a gecko. This is a leopard gecko, and they're purple and orange. I don't know how well you all can see this little guy in the light, but these are good low maintenance pets. So if you have like a small apartment, they don't let you have a cat or dog. They might let you keep something in a small aquarium like this. These are very very charismatic. They have a lot of personality in their expressions, and they can engage with you. They are aware of you, as you can see. It's aware of me sitting here talking right now, and they are a desert species. So, you just keep them fed and watered, and you don't really have to maintain them too much. They are fun to watch, hunting down little mealworms and stuff, because no matter if it's a little worm crawling along, they still act like they're a mighty predator out on the wild slopes, and hunt it down and slowly stalk it. It's adorable because they think they're so tough. But geckos in general are pretty great low maintenance herps. So if you don't have a lot of space and you want to get something that's cute, like a cat or dog, these guys are actually cute. Most people don't find a lot of reptiles cute, but they have expressive little cute faces. I think frogs are cute too, though. So that may just be a bias that I have.
I do too. I love frogs, and that one looks really adorable. I would love to hold that thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go put this little guy back away because he was just now starting to get out and sun himself, and I don't want to keep him out here when he's trying to get some vitamins. I will be right back.
Okay.
Now, Sunny, when you hold her up, she looks kind of like a frog. She does a little bit of a frog stance.
Let me tell you, when you just did that, I had this overwhelming urge to just rub that belly. It was like, oh my gosh, such a cutie.
She is such a little babe. She's only 3 months old, so she's just navigating the world.
Oh my goodness. Is she starting to chew on things and
including my hand here a little bit? Yeah.
I love
it's
that.
funny right now. She's so much smaller than my cat. I kind of wish Church was here because she's so tiny, and watching them interact has been great. They look. They have so much fun, and but that gecko was adorable.
Yes.
I had turtles.
No, we always have had tortoises. This is the first time in a long time. Our tortoise we had forever passed away, and we've just been kind of heartbroken about it, not ready to get a new one yet. Do you have turtles?
I used to have them. I used to have little sliders.
Oh, the red-eared sliders.
Yep, the little red-eared sliders. They were so cute. And they were the little tiny ones, the little babies.
Yeah.
But they passed a while ago.
I got butterflies making all kinds of noise. I don't know if you all can hear it or not. They're fluttering all around up here. What you're seeing right here is actually the bottom of a butterfly insectarium tent thing. So sorry if that's noisy.
No, okay. So I'm so glad that Cindy asked for you to come on, because I am honestly just loving the animals that you have and the background with all of your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please.
I'm just super excited about this because these are a good example of something that you can keep and watch through its life cycle and just enjoy. They do have a short life cycle. These will only live for a few weeks. But watching them go through their pupal stage as caterpillars, and when I got them, they were freshly hatched. They were just the size of little Tic Tacs. They were so small, and they just grew over it was about a week and a half. They grew from that size every day. They were pretty much doubling in size. I took a photo record of it just to show how fast they grow. And then one day they just crystallize and go up onto the ceiling, making a little chrysalis, and then about a week later, you get these gorgeous painted lady butterflies. Now, painted ladies are neat because they're native and indigenous to here, so I could release these outside and it wouldn't be a problem because I get them on my butterfly bushes anyway. But right now, this time of year in Illinois, they wouldn't probably do very well. Maybe on a nice warm few days, they'd survive for a few days, but it's going to continue to have little drops in temperature for the next few weeks. So I couldn't release them now, and they'll be dead before it's going to be to a place where I'd feel safe about it. But since they're native, you can raise these in your area and release them into the wild if you live pretty much anywhere in North America. So it's a good activity to do for science classes, for in elementary school when you talk about life cycles, to raise some of these in your classroom, or if you run a daycare or something like that, just something for the kids to do and engage with science and learn a little bit about insects and how they grow and change. Would I call them pets? I don't know, because pets are something to me that you get emotionally attached to. I do not recommend getting emotionally attached to any kind of arthropod because they don't live long enough to build that kind of relationship with. And if you do, you're just going to set yourself up to be crushed. They are having things with a year-long life cycle, like praying mantises, like butterflies who just have weeks-long life cycles. Like I was talking about jumping spiders, they have about a year, like a mantis. They are good pets to teach a kid about life and death, though, because you get to get it when it's small, when it's a baby, watch it grow into adulthood. You get to take care of it and feed it, watch it grow, keep track of how it changes as it grows. With insects especially, because there's a lot of change going on there. Reach adulthood, maybe mate it, pair it with another one potentially, but watch it go through that life cycle. If you do that, you'll get to see it lay eggs, and then watch the cycle again, of course, and then pass away. And you get to teach your kids about this beautiful life cycle, and they get to learn about life and death, and that we're all going to go through this process, and it's just the natural order of things. They are very good educational tools in that way.
That is very important. I remember when I had a little hamster that I took care of, and I remember when it died, I was devastated for a little while, but my parents did exactly what you were saying. They talked about the lifespan and that this is a normal thing, and then I was like, so does that mean you guys are going to die? They're like, well, yes, but our lifespan is a lot longer, and they were able to talk about that type of stuff, and that is a very important part of this discussion. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because you're going to outlive your pets for the most part. People are going to outlive their pets, so that's something you need to be ready for when you go step into it. But teaching the next generation to be ready for that too is important, and exposing them to that. A lot of people will say, "Oh, just get if the hamster dies, just get a new hamster that looks the same and don't even tell the kid." But that's not really the way to go about it.
Mm-mm. I agree.
When we just lost our Boston Terrier about a month ago, my daughter is 7. It was her first brush with actually losing something she loved. She was very close with Sedano, and when we got Layla, she said, "Well, we're not doing that to replace Sedano. This is to remember Sedano. This doesn't replace him." But she's so precious that she also made a joke that we wouldn't want to put him in the pet cemetery because he would come back.
Oh, goodness.
Because it was so nice that he would certainly act the wrong way. But up until then, she would say, "Oh, that person passed away. Oh, someone has died," but she hadn't really experienced it. And have a faith, I couldn't say that he was waiting in heaven in some great dog land. We had to talk about him appreciating all the time we had with him and all the experiences.
I mean, and you could explain like the circle of life, because as anything, as we decompose and we go back into the earth, and our bodies are taken in by other organisms to help fertilize the growth of a next generation of life forms, even if they're not our own children. We still go on, and every bit of you, except for maybe some leftover calcium, is going to go on to feed a next generation of life forms.
That's exactly right. That's so true. Really quickly, I'm just curious, the tank behind you, is that for your gecko, or is that another animal?
There's a big tarantula in here.
Oh,
right there. Yeah. I don't know if you can pull me up big, and I'll try to pinpoint where we are. This is right in that. See that lump right there? That is my bird eater. That is my Nandu chromaticus. It's a stripy-legged tarantula that gets really big. She's about half grown right now. And then I got this water tank right here, has a giant water bug. These are not pets. These are specimens. I keep them through their life cycle, and then I taxidermy them. I don't consider them pets. I do consider my mantises pets because I do handle them and play with them and I mean, I have this on my desk for a reason. Because they're up here on the shelves above my desk. I can sit here, even sometimes when I'm on somebody else's stream and somebody's talking, and it might be kind of boring. Sit here, and just play with my mantises with the laser pointer off screen. But yeah, I won't say any names. I've been getting into crabs lately because I don't know, because it's weird and I like crabs all of a sudden. But I got 3 hermit crabs and 2 fiddler crabs. I started with a Halloween moon crab that is a moody little sucker, and you can't really do much with him at all. He comes out at night. He's gorgeous. He's purple and orange. I don't know. Pull up a picture of it, but I will never see it unless I come down here to flash with a flashlight at 3 a.m. and poke around. It's generally not something I get to witness. So gorgeous pet, but not for someone who wants to see their pet all the time. And I have lots of them like that too. Spiders tend to be that way. Crabs tend to be that way. Most predatory arthropods are going to spend most of their time hiding. Again, that's why I point people, if you want to have a pet bug, get a praying mantis. They are the absolute best. If you want to collect arthropods and have a collection and maybe try to breed them and stuff, then tarantulas. But I would not consider them pets at that point. Just my opinion.
So can I ask you, do you deal with animals for your profession, or is this simply all of this is what you do
I deal
because
with
you
human animals in my profession? No, I don't deal with this. This is just something I do on my own for my own personal enjoyment and learning about them and stuff. It's just a hobby.
Okay. Well, would you say that your life has been enriched because you have decided to do this? Do you feel that you are happier, healthier, mentally and physically because of all of the different types of life that you have?
It helps me deal with some of my my mental stuff I have going on. So helps me to have a structure and something to tend to. We also have a plethora of house plants that I tend to, and you can kind of gauge where I am by how well those house plants are doing sometimes. But for the arthropods, yeah, it gives me something to engage with, something to interact with, and take care of. Yeah, I think it's enriched my life. That's exactly the word I'd use to describe all of this I got going on behind me is enrichment. For first and foremost.
Well, I have to say that I'm a little bit jealous because you, first of all, you're amazing. And this is my first interaction with you. I've seen your name in the chats before, but this is our first interaction, and I already just adore you. I'm also I'm also really jealous because of all of the animals that you have. Earlier, I was looking through the chat stream. I was saying, oh, I could never have that, and I could never have, just knowing me, I couldn't. And now, as you've been talking about all of that stuff, it's like, why not? That's really kind of cool. You've changed my mind a little bit.
You don't have to interact. Just watch it. It's like a fish tank. There's one more thing I want to show you guys. These are adorable in my opinion.
I can't wait to see whatever is coming.
See that?
That looks like a stink bug that is on steroids and has paint all over it.
It says domino in its name because of the spots, because it's kind of like a domino. This is a roach. This is a roach that can survive in a small aquarium in a small area of a room that is gorgeous. They come in this with the white spots and they come with orange spots. They are not pest roaches, so they can't survive in your house. You have to keep them taken care of. They need a steady diet of they're frugivores. They live in the desert on the like the Gir forest in India where like lions live and stuff. So they're from a really neat ecology. And So I am a promoter of roaches, and roaches you don't keep it like individually. You keep like a few, like a small colony. These will live in colonies of about 10 to 20, maybe 25, and you can make them self-sustaining. But they're gorgeous to look at. You can put a little bark display in there. Just throw some fruit in there, maybe a couple pieces of dog food for protein every now and then, and you're good to go. And they're just adorable. Look at that little guy. He's so adorable with his little wiggly antennas.
That is so cool.
It's like bunny ears.
I'm actually torn because I have a major phobia of cockroaches.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And
I
so
did for a long time.
when you turned it sideways, that's the first time that I could see the structure. You know, when you were like
you
this,
saw that. Yeah.
it kind of it looked like a stink bug. I don't know if everybody knows what I mean by a stink bug, but here in North Carolina, we get these every year, these stink bugs, and it's kind of an odd little shape, and they really do stink if you squish them or whatever.
Like a shield bug.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they get into everything. Like they just like take over everything, and it kind of looked like that. But when you turn to the side, then I could see the structure of the roach structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, it was like something, because of the phobia, switched. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to see that, but oh my gosh, I really don't. And I had this weird internal struggle that just happened.
That's why I let people process what they were seeing before I said that it was a roach. When you hold it up, when you show it and it looks like that, let people say, oh, is that a beetle, like a ladybug of some kind, a true bug, like you're talking about, a stink bug. So, some of those groups, but roaches have gorgeous tropical relatives too. That's a desert species. There's tropical ones that are orange and red and blue and all sorts of divine colors. They all fill kind of the same niche though, as they live in the leaf litter on the forest floor and things like that, or in caves. So not exactly a charismatic a feeder, but definitely a necessary one, because we need deuterovores, of course, in our ecologies.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you came on, because I now have so many questions. But we actually have one. I know we've gone over a little bit, but I think this is a really good question, and so I'm going to go ahead and showcase it. So, a question for the panel: thoughts on spaying and neutering your pets? I know lots of people have different thoughts on the matter. So I'll just go ahead and say my piece and then let you guys all talk. I think it's extremely important to spay and neuter your pets unless you are a breeder who is an ethical breeder. Otherwise, it's important to spay and neuter, because too many times when people have litters and obviously this is a certain type of pet. Like if we're talking about a gecko and stuff like that, I'm not even sure. I don't know if you do. I don't even know if that's the right term.
You don't know.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that you would want to do either. For reptiles, of course, it's mostly carnivorans and bovids not bovids, artiodactyls that you would do that to. Hooved animals and carnivores like dogs, cats, ferrets get neutered, but I don't think you do it for reptiles or much of any other groups of animals. I think people do get, like if they have pet monkeys and things, they do get them fixed. There's other things that they do to the monkeys though that maybe are questionable ethical, like removing their fangs and things like that. So it really comes down to artificially modifying your animal to fit your needs and well-being instead of theirs. Where do you draw the line on that? There's other things like declawing cats, that cropping a dog's ears or tail, things like that. Where do we draw the line on, well, these genetically modified, because all of our pets, dogs and cats, just at least those two groups, are genetically modified organisms. They don't exist in the wild. And what line do we have to say what we can and can't do to modify their biology to suit our needs, because we made them? That's a great question.
It is. I think when it comes to things like cats and dogs, though, we end up, if we don't spay or neuter them, we end up with a lot of litters that people don't want, that end up thrown out or that people have even killed. And it seems like unless It seems like it's actually more humane because pets are you're right. We kind of created them. We've modified them to where a lot of them cannot necessarily survive in the wild anymore. And so, we know about people who throw their animals out when they're moving or whatever, and but then you end up with a litter. All of a sudden you have a litter of 7 or 8 dogs, and you're trying to give them away, and you can't even give them away. I think that's why I feel like we should, but I would love to hear the rest of you.
Well, I grew up in the 90s in the United States watching The Price is Right, where Bob Barker would tell you at the end of every episode to control the pet population and get your animal spayed or neutered. But aside from that, I plan to get my dog spayed. She's too young right now. She's only 3 months old, so she's too young for it now. I think it's just important, like you said, people end up having all of these puppies that they can't take care of, or they're giving them to people who don't properly take care of them. And as far as genetically modifying them, I definitely do not see spaying and neutered the same as like declawing a cat. I actually have a declawed cat. I did not get her declawed. I adopted her. She was already declawed. But I wouldn't want to do that. That actually cuts off part of their, like, basically their knuckle.
Yeah, it's like cutting it off from the end of the fingertip. It's gross.
I don't see that quite the same as getting a pet fixed. I mean, I like to think Layla will be a little happier not walking around having her period.
To be clear, I have 2 dogs, and they are both spayed. Both.
Yeah, so I'm definitely for spaying and neutering, but as far as the other modifications you mentioned, that is very controversial.
Yeah, I've argued with people about the cropping stuff. Sonny didn't get a chance to respond to that. What do you think about cropping ears and stuff? Just as a add-on to the question about spay and neutering.
Yeah, when it comes to things like that, I cannot agree with that. It doesn't. If there's not a real benefit to the animal, then I don't see the need, especially if it's modifying. I don't think that they give them any pain, anesthesia or anything like that, local anesthesia or anything. They just kind of crop them. I could be wrong on that, but what's the purpose for us? That just to me doesn't make a lot of sense. And I will also say that when it comes to declawing, when I was younger, first out on my own, and I am really old. I know I don't look it, right? But I am really old.
Not at all.
I grew up during the 80s and into the 90s. And back then it wasn't a thing to talk about. It just wasn't even a controversy. If you had indoor cats, you declawed them so they wouldn't screw up your couch and stuff. And when I first went out on my own and I wanted a cat, I declawed the cat. And it was shortly after that, maybe 5 years later, that all of this started coming up. And I can't tell you how horrible I felt. But like you said at the beginning, when you first came in, Bree, that, you live and you learn. You can't necessarily feel horrible about it because you didn't know any better. And I was immediately thinking of that when you said that. So I guess I'm asking forgiveness from my long departed kitty that I did that. I didn't know I was doing something wrong. But yeah, I don't like that either. I don't like that.
It looks like y'all are about ready to wrap up, but I did want to hear what Cindy had to say about this before.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same position as all of you. I had several cats. One of them had a litter that was planned. I just wanted her to have one before I neutered her. The second one, the one that I'm looking at right now, she also had one, but because she was very precocious, she was pregnant even before the vet told me to neuter her. So the thing is, having kittens in the house was amazing. every day, the feeling, the wonder, and I miss that a lot. And every day I think I want to have kittens, but I'm not going to adopt another cat just to have to give me some litters. It would be very selfish. But on the other hand, there's a broader issue to talk about, is that if we let all those pets reproduce, then this will have a major impact on them first, because then they will get abandoned, and we know all the suffering that goes with this. But it will also have an impact on the environment, and so yes, the ethical question about neutering is very interesting. But yeah, here in Belgium, it's forbidden to have your pets not neutered after a certain period. I think it's 6 months for the cats, or a year after for the cats. I don't remember, but it's mandatory to neuter them. But yeah, I would love to see kittens grow up in the house, because that's so wonderful to see that.
Sorry, it was very exciting that I decided to pick one of the dogs up, and everybody got excited in the room. So sorry, I was distracted there for a second. Thank you, Sydney. Why did I all of a sudden start hosting? I'm like, oh yeah, let's hear what Sydney has to say. This is your guys' show.
I am so glad that you came on, though. I think we all are. I think all of you are absolutely fantastic. We are almost about 15 minutes over, so I will need to wrap up, because I really do value and respect y'all's time. But I want to thank you guys all for coming on. We love doing this new platform, this Atheist Women Unload. And I think this was a great example of why this is such a cool show. We get to talk about anything we want to. And pets are fantastic. And I got to learn something from each of you. And I really appreciate that. So thank you guys for coming on today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Love you guys.
Yeah, thanks for letting me pop in. This was great.
Yeah, I think we'll have another episode on this topic, because there's plenty of things we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about our own pets a lot, like anecdotes and things like that. So yeah, I hope we'll have another one.
Absolutely, I do too. And we're going to have Bree on again. I think Bree, you would make a great addition to this show. I really enjoyed it, and I just appreciate all of you guys. So if you guys like this type of content, keep in mind that you can like, subscribe, hit the bell, share, all that good stuff. It really helps us. If you really want to help, you can go to our Patreon, and every penny helps. Check out all of our other shows, like The Crucible on Mondays that I host. I really love that show. Secular Soapbox. I don't have my list in front of me that I normally do, so bear with me. There is One Good Reason, Sandbox Debates, The Bible Says What, and I know I'm forgetting one, and so please don't hate me when I do that. I want to thank the producers, Kat, Wes, Jena, all of you behind the scenes, and all the other co-hosts on Atheist Women Unloaded. In the meantime, like I always say on The Crucible, remember to think critically. Bye, y'all.
I know where you're coming from. A long road and the money's gone. All the games where you played your part from the very start just to come this far. You should know I believe in you. Every race you run, you're my number one. Kick it up now and bring it on. This will be your day.